The talk which I'd like to give during this HashiTalks is actually what you see is what you get for AWS infrastructure. And as Katie already introduced me, my name is Anton. A couple words about what I've been doing for the last several years. Some of you people from the different HashiCorp User Group communities may know me as a main contributor to Terraform AWS modules. So that's in fact what I was doing for the last several years. I like to work with Terraform and AWS and organically transition to Terraform AWS modules, which I'm quite happy with. I have my own company where I provide consultant services, and I just dedicate myself to Terraform and AWS and occasionally working with Azure. Over the last more than 3 years, I've been organizing AWS user groups, DevOps days in Oslo, and in general, I like to travel a lot and talk and learn from different communities worldwide. So let's get started. So the talk is about what the way how Cloud Architect historically was working or supposed to be working is that we use Cloud Architects to help us with planning and designing cloud environments. Okay, so that's what they do. Okay, and DevOps engineers, as well as many other stakeholders, want to get their product just converted faster from ideas into finished product. So there are a bunch of different tools which Cloud Architect can use. In this talk, I'm going to cover just one, which is CloudCraft, where you can, I'm sure that some of you saw these kind of diagrams, where you can connect different components, connect them together, specify different properties, and so on. So in fact, you can actually import live AWS infrastructure, you can calculate budget, you can export as image, and you can embed it into Wiki, Confluence, and so on. Okay, well, the point of infrastructure as code is that it actually makes DevOps possible, right? So we have to treat infrastructure a similar way how we treat application code. We have to know what has changed and who has changed it, and so on. So, and since this is HashiTalks, we actually have to talk about some of HashiCorp products, which I'm really happy with. Terraform. AWS, Google, and Azure, they all have their own solutions. But Terraform, in addition to those tools, support more than 100 other providers. This is how a typical main TF file looks like. We all know that we can declare some resources, and we execute certain commands, and we get things done. As I said earlier, over the last several years, I've been actively contributing and maintaining Terraform AWS modules. And VPC autoscaling group is one of the most popular one which people use. So far, there were about 2 million downloads during the year. About a year ago, I was thinking that it's probably a good idea to somehow figure out how we are able to connect these things. So in AWS, we have AWS console. In CloudCraft, we have a way to visualize these things. And in Terraform, where DevOps engineers spend most of their time, we actually declare these things. As you can guess, some of these things got re-implemented over and over. So someone clicks something in console, and then they say, oh, I actually have to visualize what I have just been clicking around. So they import it into CloudCraft, and then DevOps engineer is given a task to actually implement this. Well, that's not exactly the flow which I'd like people to do. So for the last year, I was thinking, okay, we have CloudCraft diagram where things are visual, and there are Terraform AWS modules as building blocks of AWS infrastructure, and Terraform is a tool to allow us to manage this infrastructure. Okay, so some time ago, approximately 3-4 months ago, I open sourced and made it available for everyone on my GitHub account tool, which allows us to actually generate visual diagrams into Terraform. So let me show how this is actually working. I'm not At least this time, I don't want to try. Oh my God. Yeah. So this time I didn't want to make live demo because I know that something will definitely go wrong. So I actually recorded it. So I apologize for my very boring voice because yes, it is so boring.
Let me demonstrate how CloudCraft can be used to produce diagrams and how modules TF is implemented. So first we go to cloudcraft.co, login or sign up, and by the way, everything what I will show is available for free accounts on CloudCraft as well. So let's log in. When we log in and we see some blueprints created, we have to create new in this example. So the new one I will call HashiTalks, and I will specify grid size infinite to put more elements.
Hey, Anton?
Yeah.
Something happened with the audio.
Yeah, that's exactly what I expected.
Well, it does happen, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. There were several good talks in a row, so mine should be broken. Let me just figure out where is this. This Zoom is not so. Okay, here is it.
And let's put our Rds also in this. So what we have now is put two resources into one VPC. Let's put some more resources. Security group for relational database servers.
Can you hear me now? Only if I'm speaking?
Yes.
Or...
That's much better, much better.
But can you hear me when I'm speaking, or is it recorded?
I hear you when you're speaking.
Okay, that's pretty funny. Yeah, anyway, this video is recorded, and I will definitely post it right after the talk. I apologize for this crazy thing because it's typical, believe me. Yes, I can explain what's going on, absolutely. So here we are just specifying what kind of relations we want to have, and we put different elements on CloudCraft UI. So we made VPC, we put autoscaling group, RDS, we connected some of these resources together, and we put extra details by putting these elements into correct entities, like into security group and into VPC. This is very important information for us as users of CloudCraft, so that we give some instructions to the Terraform. Then we click export, and actually, if we click export and export Terraform code, then we get this archive or this infrastructure generated as an archive, and we now can just unzip it and see what is going on inside. There is AWS Lambda function, which is deployed where this zip archive was produced. The code for this tool, which is actually generating it, is open source, and I have placed this link before. I will just increase font so that everything is visible there. So inside of it, there are certain files with TF-vars extension. As you can see, there are no files, or almost no files with TF extension. Yeah, so question from Alok was pretty much relevant. Yeah, so modules TF is a service which I maintain outside of Cloudcraft. So yes, it submits your diagram blueprint into this endpoint, and I process it and return zip archive in real time. How safe is it? I mean, you decide. The code is open. Everything, including serverless framework, is open. So in this file, we are exploring what is actually the content of VPC. So we see file Terraform TF-vars, which contains just an invocation of Terraform AWS module for VPC, where a bunch of arguments should be declared. Similar, we can see inside an autoscaling group, where some values were possible to extract from Cloudcraft diagram, like instance type. So that's why we are having it here. So the question was related to, can you visualize your infrastructure defined in that code? Yes, I actually can, but I didn't have time to put it in action. Yes, this talk will be available right after this. It's already on YouTube, it's just not published. So let's get back to this one. Rds configuration has some defaults which you can always override, but they are, again, populated with the data based on Cloudcraft diagram, which you have specified before. Like multi-AZ was declared to be true. That's why it is multi-AZ here as well as instance class. Right, so now let's see how this code can actually be executed. So the first thing, which is unfortunately you have to do, is just to make one shell script executable. I will go in details explaining why this script is necessary and what exactly it does in a moment. So first, let's look into VPC, which we have already explained here. Yes, so we are going to populate these values with real things. I have been doing this before, so I just copy-paste all of this from another file, and here is it. Yeah, as you can see, there are no dependencies between VPC module, but there are dependencies of autoscaling group module for VPC and security group. This is an important hint for TerraGrant to create VPC and security group before an autoscaling group can be launched there. And As you can see, VPC zone identifier on line 49 is using some annotation. This annotation is going to be used by shell script in order to put real values there. It will simply get Terraform output from VPC module, and it will get public subnet placed inside of this list. It will happen during the command of terragrant plan and terragrant apply. Yes, here will be placed the real value, as well as security groups will be fetched from security group 1. So this script update dynamic values in TFVARs has been created as a workaround to be able to have dynamic values inside TFVARs, which unfortunately is not supported natively. So we have to have some workarounds about it. So we need to fill in some values which Cloudcraft cannot figure out automatically, like maintenance windows and backup window for RDS service, and leave the rest as is. I cannot zoom in. So now let's see how the creation of VPC is happening. Yeah, so Control+ will not do anything here because this is just a video. Yes, it's a video. Thanks, Sofyan. Well, so we run terragrant init to download some dependencies like provider and module itself. Now, when we run terragrant apply, we see the same things as we would run Terraform apply. So we see 19 resources to create. Let's confirm it. And pretty fast we get things created. Yeah, so a hook was executed to populate some values there. So all resources were successfully created, and that's exactly no magic, honestly. Let's see what other things has to be created. So we go similar things to VPC, and we see similar annotation. So this annotation will be used, and real VPC ID will be placed there. Terragrant init is not necessary to run here because Terragrant apply can figure out that Terragrant init has to be run as well. So it can run it by itself. So here, as you can see, hook is actually putting the value of VPC ID with the correct value, and it's using it to create security group. So this means that this code is linking to real VPC ID, and it is safe to commit this to GitHub. It will be updated if something changes. how much of the Terraform functionality are you expecting by Terraform 0.12? Well, that's a really good question. I constantly discuss it with some of colleagues and companies where I work. Yeah, so GitHub URL is in my GitHub account, github.com/Anton Babenko. So the question about reducing TerraGrant and using more Terraform 0.12 is not going to be problematic, I would say. We will still need to have some orchestration of Terraform modules, even if Terraform 0.12 will be released, let's say, during the next 8 days. The main difference is that Terraform internally will allow us to write modules more efficiently, but we still have to orchestrate them, especially since there is no way to specify dependencies between modules. That's why there will be need in such hacks like shell script, which I'm using here. Yeah, so in fact, the first letter was, by unknown to me reason, cut up. Honestly, I have no clue. But yeah, VS is actually AWS. So what is going on here, just to clarity, is an auto-scaling group has been successfully created and single command was executed. It was just TerraGrant apply inside an auto-scaling group. So I just pasted link for people who want to follow what's going on in chat. So now I'm actually showing one of the feature of TerraGrant, which is pretty helpful. If you have several layers of infrastructure which are dependent between themselves, you can go to the parent folder and run TerraGrant apply all, and it will create all of the folders for you. Or it will just go through dependencies and run them one by one for you. Sorry, actually, this recording makes blind and deaf. I absolutely agree. I didn't have to buy a 34-inch screen and record on it. So now when I run TerraGrant apply all, it just goes recursively through all of them and update and execute all of TerraGrant apply in there. I don't know if the question which Sachin is asking for me or for everyone, but since I have a microphone, I can try to answer. So as of now, 0.12 work with 0.11 syntaxes, and that was the whole point of why it took so long time. As far as I understand, there are no immediate plan to kill this backward compatibility. I'm not sure that it will work forever, but at least it will be working for the next 0.12, 0.12.1, 2, 3, for sure. A lot of people, a lot of companies cannot migrate to 0.12 just because it is out. And I can see this very much. From what I see, 0.12 works almost without any changes with all of my current projects and companies where I work. AWS alone, in fact, is announcing enormous amount of features. This is not big news for us. What is challenging there is that the whole process after AWS announced this feature and before we can use it is actually not single step. After AWS bumped the SDK, then AWS provider has to be improved, and then module has to pick up this feature, and then users can use it. So yes, there are some time before this going on, but I'm glad that it takes less time than people expect from CloudFormation. CloudFormation is worse in this example. Yes, it is possible to start using Terraform if it was used with other means. Just be aware that if CloudFormation was used before, and then you will not be able to get rid of CloudFormation without deleting off many resources. So finally, I again apologize for this crazy video. I can just summarize something about this slide. So modules TF and the code which it produces is suitable for bootstrapping because it enforces some of Terraform best practices, which I am writing on terraformbestpractices.com. If you are willing to reuse existing solutions like Terraform AWS modules and TerraGrant and pre-commit hooks and a few other things, then this is for you. You can always delete some of these things and get rid of TerraGrant if you don't want to have it in your company, but the structure will most likely be the same as here. It is open source and released, and the link is here. This feature is available for all subscription of Cloudcraft, including free, paid, doesn't matter. I really appreciate if people will submit issues and specifically what they want from this tool. Maybe I will implement this if I hear about it more often. So thank you, and you can find me on Twitter and GitHub, and I'm really eager to answer any question about this one. Just before I give microphone back to Katie, I just want to say some interesting things about HashiTalks. There is a guy called Kerim, and I contacted him before Hashi Days in Amsterdam last year, and I said, what do you think if we actually make lightning talks? Because there were just 8 slots in Hashi Days. And we decided to make it as lightning talks for everyone. Unfortunately, we couldn't make it in time. But then I contacted Katie and said, hey, Katie, do you think it's a good idea to make it like 24 hours and we have it in format of lightning talks? And then this is what we have. As you can see, Katie is here and running this stuff, and I'm really glad that she managed to do this in her best way, as she always do.